Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Happy Catty Crypto here. So let's dive into an update currently on what's hot, what's not. And there's this OKSE, which is a prepaid debit card or just a prepaid card. Sorry, either or. And you may know this, you may not know this. I think it's not got as much heat as it probably should have. It has got a lot of interest in other places though, for sure. I mean, this is a big step in a use case, but this use case just being, you can spend your Lunar Classic in so many different places. Absolutely amazing in my opinion. You couldn't really want more like from a utility, because there's always this thing, isn't there? Well, can I spend it in real life? And yeah, you can. But what I also want to explain to people is this isn't a new thing. Like if you've got crypto.com, you'll understand that you can take your Lunar Classic and pretty much just put it straight onto your crypto.com card and go and spend it. It just transfers it straight into, I think it does it into USDC, then into fiat, or it might just go into USDC and they may just honor it. Who knows? But what we do know is there's so many more of these platforms that do this, and Paybolt's one of them, but this is huge. It's huge because OKSE, for starters, are followed by CZ Binance. I mean, that's always a winner, isn't it? But they're quite well integrated, they're well built out, and it looks like it's a good overall system. So let's go to their website, let's tap their white paper, and let's have a little look really, about the... Pretty much, I'm just going to do the introduction to it, because from what they're saying on these tweets and in the videos and things like this, even with all of the blocking out, is that it actually happens on chain. But from what I can see here, it looks like it's BNB chain. And yes, of course, that gets affected by the 1.2% burn tax, because Binance are doing their own kind of buyback and burn initiative. So, but at the same time, I would like to see the wallets that are transacting these on chain, so then we could then add them to the burn ticker and then actually see how much they're contributing. So I'm going to reach out to Travelad, which is the person who got this, I think, more or less put in place and done the length work on it with Elijah, which, it's good. It's good to see people going out of their way, because this is the one thing I always like to say to people is this is your blockchain, this is your movement, this is your cryptocurrency. And if you've got an idea, you don't need anybody's permission to follow it through. Go and do it. You don't need anybody's permission. The blockchain is open source technology, meaning anybody can plug and play with it, so to speak. If you've got the understanding and you can do it, then you can do it. We're currently building something out ourselves, which is reaching its next level of its development, so to speak. We're implementing the system for the leveling up inside this project we're working on. That's right, it has a leveling system, but it's one of those ones, really, to be quite honest. We work in an environment where people will steal your ideas. They will just do it, and it's as simple as that. But anyway, staying on a more positive note, and this is good. This is really, really good. And like I was saying, what I want to see now is exactly how does this work on chain? How does this, where the transactions, where's the volume? I want to see the numbers, so to speak. I don't just want to see them putting this up. I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's one thing I always weigh a project out on, is how much damage can it do to the blockchain on a negative side? Like, say it all crumbled, it all failed. How much damage could it do? And that's how I weigh a project out at the beginning, because like anybody can, do what they did. Anybody can do what they did. Anybody can create a project, create a coin, gain a load of liquidity, or create a payment system and then walk away, so to speak, just, there to simply capture the monetary inflow. We've already seen one project come into the Lunar Classic space, take a load of liquidity and then walk away. And we've had other projects which have taken liquidity off chain. So this is really good as long as it does keep it on chain. And this is where the wording is confusing for me, because I just bought my LUNC on the BNB chain. So hopefully bought the Lunar Classic on the Binance chain. It's the wording really gets me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But other than that, really good. And now moving on to the top burners. And the reason why I'm going over to the top burners is because I want you guys to understand exactly how much is being burnt, okay, and how many people are abiding by the 1.2% burn tax. But there is a proposal up. We'll get over to that shortly. But as you can see, Binance have burnt 8.6 billion, which is a considerable amount. The 1.2% burn tax is burning through a considerable amount as well. So just take that into perception. You know, there's a lot of us here as well that have burnt, you know, a lot of money. I think mine comes out to like £7,000 that I've burnt, and like people look at it and go, you know, well, it's only 25 million, or, you know, Luna V shape, this is only 30 million. But ultimately, I think Luna V's works out as around, you know, £9,000. Mine works out at around £7,000. And for someone like me who's super new as an influencer, and really like, I'm just as poor as the next guy, so to speak. You know, I'm struggling just the same as everybody else is. But, you know, I managed to burn this much of my own money, and no one ever, you know, funded this. It was all done out of, you know, the revenue we generated across the board. We burnt it all. We literally burnt everything. Like everything we ever earned, we burn up until a certain point. So, and you just don't see those kind of things. But, you know, there's a lot of us that have contributed to the burn tax itself. So I'm always a strong believer of the 1.2% burn tax. But, you know, there is a proposal up. Let's go over to the governance, and it is whitelisted now. And it's pretty much, I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to lay it out really simple for you. The idea is that the burn tax is too high, and it's hurting the volume, and it's hurting projects that want to come on chain or want to come back to the chain. And it wants to lower the tax rate from 1.2% to 0.2%, and then set aside 10% of that 0.2% to finance the ecosystem, infrastructure, and contributors. Infrastructure being us, the movement, the blockchains, technology, and then the contributors being Terra Rebels, the ones who are providing the code, upgrades, and things like that across the board. So I think this one in itself can get kind of ruled out. And the reason why I say this is if we go over to past proposals, we take ourselves back to 4080, and we look at the distribute 50% of the transaction fees to the community pool. Okay, 35% was supposed to be burned monthly, 10% was supposed to go to the ecosystem devs, and 5% was to go to the core Terra Classic development. So that's pretty much right there. We could dedicate this whole 50% to the Terra Rebels team. And why could we do that? Well, because no one ever followed up the 35% monthly burn, and no one ever followed up this airdrop to the ecosystem devs, or the 5% to be retained for classic core development. And I feel like all of this needs to go to Terra Rebels. We're now at a point where we need to sit, take a step back, and think to ourselves, okay, how long have we been in this? Okay, I've been doing this 5 months myself. So Terra Rebels have been doing it for around 4 months. So for those months, okay, they've not been paid anything, and I've only just got my first paycheck, last month. So for the first 4 months, so to speak, I've just more or less like not, you know, ever been paid for a penny of a thing that I did. I never took any, you know, payments for anything I did. In fact, I helped Luna V Shape do many charity auctions so they could build up the Luna Punks treasury, and just done it because I wanted to help the project, so to speak. And that's just how HCC is. And I guess it's kind of a weakness of ours because, you know, I understand why all other YouTubers do clickbait, associate with people for money, and take payouts for advertising stuff, because the simple fact is they have to survive. And this kind of goes back to looking at Terra Rebels. They've been doing this for 4 months. Tobias said to me in his podcast episode, you know, he's working on a crappy laptop, and that really hurts to hear that. We've got developers that are working on crappy systems, and if they had better systems, they would be able to work faster. I assure you, we all know how annoying it is when you've got to wait a minute between clicks of opening things, closing things. You know, I just couldn't work like that ever. Like never ever. I mean, I've got 4 screens up currently, plus a laptop screen as well. So I understand the need for, you know, high-speed technology. So I think it's really important. So now let's go back to the current proposal, which is in hand, and it's a parameter change, meaning if it gets voted through as yes, the tax will become reduced, and this 10% of the tax revenue will then go to finance the ecosystem, infrastructure, and contributors. So, you guys need to make up your minds kind of as to how you want this now to proceed. So I think it's very important that you guys all choose very carefully how you vote, and the voting's going through. It is whitelisted, and this is the difference between, you know, a proposal that's whitelisted and not whitelisted. They followed the correct route. There's an Agora text. It's been spoken about, and then it gets whitelisted. So I think currently it's not passing, as you can see, but anything can happen within the next 4 days. But my opinion is, if I'm not going to sit on the fence right now, is it's too early. We've not given it enough time, and we're sending the wrong signal to CEXs. But then I can then also play the other side of the audience and say to you guys, you know, the volume's not been doing too great. Yes, it could incentivize projects to possibly come back if they wanted to do so. And then I can also go back to the other side of the playing field and say to you guys, well, a lot of the projects relied on USTC. If we could fix USTC, you would see all of those 150 projects that were on the blockchain previously come flooding back, because there would be USTC again for them to use, to play with, to run their projects behind. And a lot of people don't understand that USTC in itself was Luna's secret weapon previous to the capitulation. And I should do a video on this, and it's kind of lazy that I haven't, is how it got to where it got to. And the most simplest of explanations to you guys is there was a mint to burn feature between Luna and USTC, meaning that you could always mint to burn, vice versa, meaning you would always earn a little bit on top, meaning it was always profitable, meaning you could repeat it on a huge scale, and this, you know, somehow drove up the price over time. That is the most simplest explanation I can give someone without, you know, drowning your brain out with information. And then what attributed to the crash mostly was the borrowing aspect against the blockchain. We're going to do a video on it because Binance has brought out a lending option with the USTC, which is really interesting, right? And I've always said, you know, it's about 22 point something percent when I worked it out earlier, they hold of the circulating supply of just USTC. I've always said to my following and my subscribers, everyone across the board, that Binance have got some sort of weird plan in play. You know, it's not normal for an exchange to hold this much of, you know, a coin that was dead, dying, capitulated, and it just never made any sense to me. But what we do know as time's gone on is any time Binance have sent a burn, okay, it's come from the hot wallet. Each time it's come from the hot wallet, meaning at least some of these coins are theirs to use, to buy, to either sell or burn, so to speak. And that's what they're doing. They're buying them and then burning them. That's why it's called a buyback and burn. And it's much better than them just collecting the coins and then burning them, because they're actually buying them first, then sending them to burn. So it's absolutely awesome. But at the same time, I'd rather not see lending happen against anything to do with our blockchain. As it stands right now, I think it's too much of a big step, and everybody's getting too far ahead of themselves in that sense. And a lot of people don't understand exactly why Anchor Protocol's been removed from TerraStation to start with. So, you know, it's not always a good thing, all this, you know, positive news about, you know, lending. Be very careful with that. But as to this proposal, vote carefully, okay? I'm not going to tell you how to vote or what to vote, and that's why I've not voted on screen to show anyone how I'm going to vote. I want you guys to make up your own mind and understand, you know, we can change it if it does go through, okay? That was the whole point of why it took a little bit longer, was because the burn tax is interchangeable, meaning we can change it at any point we feel like changing it. So, you know, vote carefully, vote considerately, and don't blindlessly vote. Don't just vote because someone you know, really like what they do said, you know, you should vote yes to this. Make up your own mind. Read and understand exactly the pros and the cons to this. I've given you my perspective of how I feel, and then kind of sit in both sides of the fence, because there's pros and cons to both, honestly. And you know, you're never going to get everything perfect. It's impossible to get everything perfect. It's impossible to get everybody to agree on everything all the time. It just doesn't work like that. And, you know, we have to traverse these things as a community. So do vote carefully on Proposition 5234, because it is a parameter change. And it will go through. Hap, can you come away from the microphone, please? app. Sorry, guys, the cat is rubbing herself on the microphone. She's like, oh, this is very nice. Oh. So now going over to you today, and there's a lot of talk about Cardano pretty much is like a broken system and it just crashes all the time. And I like to say to people, you know, this is something that we just don't suffer from as a blockchain. When have you seen our blockchain crash on a level like Cardano's does? Like people say, you know, yeah, well, we crashed back in May, but we didn't. We capitulated. There's a huge difference. And like we all need to understand exactly why it crashed. And like I said, the main reason is the capitulation. Sorry, it crashed. So the main reason is because of the borrowing aspect against it. Some believe it was Citadel and BlackRock, and there's lots of different conspiracies as to about that. Lots of these different bots floating about during the capitulation time, making everything worse. So just vote carefully on all of these different things, and do understand if you're holding a bag, you're not just a bag holder, you're part of a system which requires you to have a say. So the community pool's really getting up there on, you know, it's not just Luna Classic in this pool, okay? It's a lot of other coins, and this is why I was saying that Terra Rebels should now look at Proposition 4080 and think about using the community pool for its actual use, which is to fund the blockchain. It's why we have community pool spend proposals, and all they need to do is put a proposal up and we agree on that proposal for the community pool spend, and then they get airdrop those coins from the community pool and whichever coins they wish to choose them from. So, you know, and the community pool strong at the moment, like so strong. And this is why I've always been against burning our own pool, because it just seems stupid to do something like that. So let me know what you think about that, guys, about the whole community pool aspect, about Proposition 4080. Do you believe Terra Rebels should now be paid? You know, we've been in this for a long time, and I myself, you know, I can honestly say to you guys, you know, I'm struggling. You know, it's not normal to, like, what I say to people is, you know, quit your job, don't get paid for 4 months, and work, you know, 24 hours a day nearly, every day for, you know, you know, people are like, yeah, I couldn't do that, you know, and it's the same for me because I have a son, I have my own life, I've got a cat, which is, you know, the most accident prone cat you've ever met. Some awesome news coming out soon for Exodus, really excited for that. But have a really nice Friday, guys. Live stream coming today around midday, and I hope to catch you then. Stay safe. I'm not a financial advisor, none of this is financial advice. Beware of scammers, doppelgangers, anybody pretending to be me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Sure.